Hi everyone, today we are going to be working on lesson 5.6 in our Go Math materials. This is dividing decimals, so we're going to look at dividing numbers with decimals and how to put our decimal point in there. This does start on page 323 and it goes all the way through page 328, okay? So 323 through 328. Please make sure you are following along with me as I work. Make sure you have those pages in front of you so that you can work alongside with me, okay? We are going to be doing some of these together. I'm going to have you do practice problems at the very end, just like always. You will go to your Google form and you will submit that on our classroom page. Okay, let's go ahead and hop right in because I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to get through some of these together. All right, so it says we're at the top of page 323. When you multiply both the divisor and the dividend by the same power of 10, the quotient stays the same. So they give us some examples right here, okay, in these two, I'm going to box them in for you, in these two boxes. So they give us 6 divided by 3, which is equal to 2. And then they take 60 divided by 30, which is also equal to 2. And then they take 600 divided by 300, which is also equal to 2, okay? So they're increasing by 10. They're multiplying themselves by 10, but we're still getting that same quotient, okay? And this is all going to make sense as we work through these problems. So we're going to be at the part where it says to unlock the problem. Matthew has 72 cents. Okay, 72 cents. He wants to buy stickers that cost 8 cents each. How many stickers can he buy? So it says to multiply both the dividend and the divisor by the power of 10 that makes the divisor a whole number, then divide. Okay, so what they've done is they've taken 0.72 and they've changed it to 72 because that's how much money he has. Each sticker cost 8 cents, and they've made that a whole number, which is just 8. So we have 72 divided by 8. Well, if you don't know what 72 divided by 8 is, you can look at it and you can go, okay, 8 multiplied by what is equal to 72? Well, I know based off of basic multiplication facts that 8 multiplied by 9 is equal to 72. So Matthew can buy 9 stickers. Okay, 9 stickers. I want to look down below at the try this, where it says divide 56 divided by 0.7. So down here at the bottom where it says try this is where we are going to be next. So it says divide 0.56 divided by 0.7, okay? So it says to multiply the divisor by a power of 10 to make it a whole number. Okay, so we're going to multiply 0.7 by 10, and that's going to make it a whole number of 7. And then we're going to multiply 0.56 by 10, and that's going to give us 5.6. Okay, 5.6. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and just take a look at the problem over here where it says divide. So we're going to look at this together. We're going to solve the problem, and the first thing I want to do is look at the whole number here. So we have 7 and we have 56. Well, I know that 7 can fit into 56 an even number of times, right? So I can say 7 multiplied by what is equal to 56? Well, I know that 7 multiplied by 8 is equal to 56. Okay, so we have 8, but now we have to worry about our decimal point, okay? So they say to move it 1 and 1, so we're going to have it right here, and we put a 0 in the whole number, 0.8. Okay, let's see, we're going to go ahead and look at a few on the next page, which is page 324. Page 324. Okay, let's see here. Maybe. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's look at the top where it says example. Sherry hikes on a Pacific Coast trail. She plans to hike 3.72 miles. If she hikes at an average speed of 1.2 miles per hour, how long will she hike? So we have 3.72 divided by 1.2, okay? 3.72 divided by 1.2, okay? First thing we're going to do is we're going to move our decimal points to the end, okay? So we're going to take this decimal point, we're going to move it over. That's now 12, and we're going to move this over 1, 2. That's now 372. So now we have a new problem to work on. We have 372 divided by 12, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to create a count by box, okay? A count by box. And we're going to put the multiples of 12 inside that count by box. Now that's one way we can do it if we know our multiples of 12 all the way through 9. Or, so you could go like 12, 24, 36, 48, all the way through 9. Or you can create a running total. Since this number is 2 digits right here, I like to do the running total only because it helps me be able to see it a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to have to do it down here where I've got a little bit more room, okay? So we have 12 plus 12, which is 24. So that tells me that 12 times 2 is 24, and 12 times 1 is just itself. We're going to add 12 more. That gives me 36. So that tells me that 12 times 3 is 36. And I'm going to add 12 again, which gives me 48. So that tells me that 12 times 4 is 48. And I'm going to do it one more time because you should do it at least 5 or 6 times for good measure. And that gives me 60. So that tells me that 12 times 5 is 60. Okay? Now I'm going to refer back to this running total as I work through my problem. So I'm going to go back to the top and I'm going to say, okay, can 12 fit into 3? No, because it's bigger than 3, right? But can 12 fit into 37? Yes. Now I need to figure out how many times it fits without going over but getting close, okay? Without going over but getting close. So I go to my list over here and I see 36 here. 36 is pretty close to 37 and it doesn't go over. So I know it fits 3 times. So I'm going to place my 3. 3 times 12 is 36 and we subtract. That's just 0, bring down the 2. Now the great part about this is I say, okay, how many times can 12 fit into 12? Well, I know it can fit 1 time exactly. 1 time exactly. So I can say 1 times 12 is 12. We subtract. I have no more numbers to bring down. I do not have a remainder. Okay. Now at the top, I do have where I have to place my decimal point. Okay. I do have to place my decimal point. So what I can do is, because I moved my decimal point 1 space here, I would move it 1 space here, and my answer would be 3.1. So Sherry will hike 3.1 hours. 3.1 hours. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking what I want to try. I want to go to page number 325, which is the Share and Show page. Page 325 looks like this. Whoops. Okay, there we go. All right, so on page 325, they're having you complete a couple patterns. I'm going to skip over those because we've worked on patterns in lesson 5.1 and 2. So I'm going to skip over those because I want to get to the nitty-gritty of actually doing the work. So like 4 through 6 is where I'm going to do the work here, okay? 4 through 6. And it just says to divide. I'm also going to pull up a whiteboard because I've got some work that is going to take up a lot of space, okay? So let me pull up a whiteboard really quick. Okay. And then I'm going to go back. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. We're going to start with number 4. We have 9.6 divided by 1.6, okay? 9.6 divided by 1.6. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at making these into whole numbers. I'm going to just ignore the decimal points for a minute. So that's really like saying I have 96 divided by 16, okay? So I'm going to go back to my whiteboard and I'm going to rewrite it there, if it's going to let me. 96 divided by 16. We're ignoring that decimal point for a minute, okay? We're ignoring those decimal points. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take, since this number out here is 2 digits, we're going to create a running total. So I have 16 plus 16, which is 32. So that tells me that 16 times 2 is 32. 16 times 1 is just itself. We're going to add 16, which gives me 48. So that tells me that 16 times 3 is 48. I'm going to add 16. 4, 5, 6, 64. So that tells me that 16 times 4 is 64. And I'm going to add it one more time for safe measure because I should always do it at least 5 times. So that gives me 80. So that tells me that 16 times 5 is 80. Okay? Now let's look at this problem. And I can already see the problem we're going to have. Can 16 fit into 9? No, it can't fit into 9, right? But 16 can fit into 96. We just don't know how many times, okay? So I've only done through 5 over here in my running total. So I'm going to add 16 one more time since this is a bigger number. And look at that. 16 fits into 96 exactly 6 times, okay? So 6 times 16 is 96, and we subtract. We have no more numbers to bring down. So our answer is 6. The reason why our answer is 6 is because in our original problem we had 1.6 and 9.6. So we moved it 1 and 1. 6 is our answer. Okay? You have to move it the same number of times in each one. And on the next problem, this is a better example for you, and you'll be able to see that, okay? So we're going to go back and take a look at number 5. Whoops. This one was 6, by the way. Okay, let's look at number 5. We have 0.24 divided by 0.3. Okay, 0.24 divided by 0.3. So I'm going to go back to my whiteboard so I have a little bit more room to write. And I'm going to rewrite this problem here. So I have 0.24 divided by 0.3. Let's look at the number outside the cage first, 0.3. In order to make that a whole number, I'd have to move my decimal point 1 place. So here, I'm going to move my decimal point 1 place again. Okay, see how on both sides I only moved it 1 spot? Because I moved it 1 over here, I move it 1 over here. Okay? Now, I can bring that decimal point straight up into my problem, or straight up into where my quotient's going to go. I'll use green. Because that's where it's going to be placed in the answer. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this. Let's just pretend like we don't see any decimal points. We're going to look at it just as 24 divided by 3. Okay? Now, if I don't know what 24 divided by 3 is in my head, since this is just 1 digit, it's just a 3 because the 0 doesn't really mean anything, right? I can create a count by box. So I'm going to create a count by box. Whoa, that's a very crazy looking box. That's okay. Doesn't have to be beautiful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 1 digit, which is 3, and I'm going to place the multiples of it inside the box. Okay, so I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27. Okay? That is the multiples of 3 in, I'm going to fix that 15 because it looked a little bit like 16. Okay, that is the multiples of 3 in this count by box. Okay, all the way through 9. So I'm going to refer back to this count by box as I work through my problem. Okay, so I have to ask myself, how many groups of 3 are there in 0? Well, there's none. How many groups of 3 are there in 2? Well, there's none. How many groups of 3 are there in 24? Well, I can look at my count by box. I'm looking for 24, or a number that's close to but does not go over the number 24. Okay? Close to but does not go over the number 24. So I can see in my count by box that I have 24 right there. So I know that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times that it fits. 8 times, okay? So I place my 8, and I'm going to do my multiplication. 8 times 3 is just 24, and we subtract. We have no more numbers to bring down. We don't have a remainder, so our answer is 0.8. Now, one thing we do have to add to this, to our answer here, is that 0 in front of the decimal point, because there is no whole number, we put 0 as a placeholder, okay? So 0.8 is our answer there. 0.8, okay? Let's take a look at some of these down here where it says on your own. I'm going to do a couple with you, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to have you do one on your own. So I want to look at number 7 first. I have 13.2 divided by 0.6. 13.2 divided by 0.6. So I'm going to go rewrite this on the whiteboard so that I can, see my problem and write it out really good, okay? Maybe. There we go. Okay, so again, 13.2 divided by 0.6, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a whole number outside my box there. So to do that, I have to move my decimal point one place. So I'm going to move it one place there. And I can place my decimal point up above if I want, but I really don't have to until the end. But I'm going to go ahead and stick it there so I don't forget about it. Okay? Now, I have one digit outside the box. That's a 6. So I'm going to create a count by box over here. And I'm going to put the multiples of 6 inside this count by box, okay? The multiples of 6 all the way through 9. So I have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. What is 6 times 8? 48. And 6 times 9 is 54, okay? So I have all the multiples of 6 all the way through 9. Sorry, I was just thinking about my multiples there. I thought I did my math wrong. Okay, all the way through 9. So that tells me that 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, and I can quickly refer back to it to get my answers, okay, as I work. So now I'm going to take a look at this step by step. I want to know, is there any groups of 6 in 1? Can it fit? No. Right? It can't. But it can fit into 13. Okay, so I'm going to look at my count by box. I'm going to find a number that's either the number I'm looking for or close to without going over. Okay, so I look over here. I see 12. That's close to 13 and it doesn't go over. So that's what I want to use. I want to use 2 because it's the second box. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say 6 fits into 13 2 times. Whoops, that was kind of a wonky 2. 2 times, okay? And 2 times 6 is 12. And we do our subtraction. 3 take away 2 is 1. Bring down the 2. Now I have to say, okay, how many times can 6 fit into 12? Well, we look at our count by box and we see that it fits 2 times. 1, 2. So we're going to use 2 again. 2 times 6 is 12. And we do the subtraction. We do not have a remainder. We do not have any more numbers to bring down. So our answer is 22. Now look at that decimal point. Those numbers are in front of the decimal point. So the answer is just 22. We don't have to write the decimal point because if we did, we'd have to write zeros after it as placeholders. Okay, so our answer is just 22. So I'm going to go back. And 22 is my answer. I want you to try number 9. I want you to try 6. Go back to 6 and try number 6. Pause this video while you try it, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at it together and see if you got the same answer, okay? So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, you should have paused the video and worked through number 6. You should have worked through number 6 on your own. We're going to go ahead and do this together, okay? So I'm going to rewrite it on my whiteboard because I'll have a little bit more room over there. We have 3.45 divided by 1.5. So I'm going to go back. Whoops. 3.45 divided by 1.5, okay? And they have not written it the way that I want to solve my problem, okay? So I'm going to put my larger number inside the cage, which is 3.45, and my smaller number outside the cage, which is just 1.5, okay? We rewrote it so we can solve the problem a little bit easier, okay? All right, let's take a look at this. First thing I want to do is make that number outside the cage a whole number. So I'm going to move it over one spot, which means inside the cage, I'm moving it over only one spot. Okay? Whatever I do outside the cage, I have to do inside the cage. Then I can place my decimal point, or I can wait till the end to do that. But I'm going to place it in its new position, which would be right there. Okay? Now I'm going to look at this step by step. So you can see we have 2 digits outside the cage. So I'm going to go ahead and take that number and create a running total since it's 2 digits. If it was only 1 digit, I would do a count by box. Okay? So we're going to do 15 plus 15, which is 30. So that tells me that 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 1 is just 15. We're going to add 15, and that gives me 45. So that tells me that 15 times 3 is 45. Add 15, and that gives me 60. So that tells me that 15 times 4 is 60. And we're going to do it one more time since we should do it 5 or 6 times every time we do it. That gives me 75. So that tells me that 15 times 5 is 75. Okay? Now we can work through this problem together. So I'm looking at 15. I want to know how many times can 15 fit into 3? Well, it can't. But I know that it can fit into 34, right? I just don't know how many times. So I have to go down my running total here. And I have to find a number that's close to 34, but not larger than 34, because it can't go over it, okay? So I see here 30. Well, 30 is pretty close to 34, and it doesn't go over. But let me check the next number just to be safe. Nope, can't use 45 because it goes over. So we know it fits 2 times, okay? 2 times. So it fits 2 times. And 2 times 15 we know is 30. So we subtract. 3 take away 3 is just 0. We bring down the 5. Now I have 15. I have to ask myself, how many times can 15 fit into 45? How many groups of 15 are in 45? Well, I look at my running total, and guess what? 45 is on the list, so that makes my life much easier. So I know it fits 3 times exactly, and 3 times 15 is just 45. And we know that because of this. 5 take away 5 is 0, 4 take away 4 is 0. We have no more numbers to bring down. We don't have a remainder, so our answer is 2.3. 2.3 is your answer. That should be what you got when you paused the video. Okay, 2.3, and this was number 6 on that page. Whoops. It's going to let me write. There we go. 2.3. Okay. Let's see. I want to look at... let's see, I think, I'm actually going to go ahead and just assign your practice and homework problems because I don't want this video to be too long, only because I feel like you guys might zone out if you're watching it for too long. I know I would, so that's why I just don't want to put you through that. So we're going to go ahead, let me save this page here. We're going to go ahead and go to our practice and homework page, which starts on page 327. I'm going to assign some problems to you, and you are going to work through them, and then go to your Google form and fill that out, okay, to submit your homework problems. Okay, so on page 327, I want you to work on problem number 3, 4, let's see, 5, 7, 9, and let's see, 10. Yeah. Okay, so I've got 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10 on page 327. Then on page 328, I want you, let me turn the page here. I want you to work on problems number 1, 3, and 6. 1, 3, and 6 on 328. Okay, so that's a total of, let me go back here if it's going to let me. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a total of 9 problems for you. Again, on page 327, you're working on 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10. And then on page 328, you're working on 1, 3, and 6. Okay? If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Have a great day.